This is the Rich Dad Radio Show. The good news and bad news about money. Here's Robert Kiyosaki.
Hello. Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show. The good news and bad news about money. It's a very special program because we have one of our more popular guests ever. And I've been following him for years, Gerald Celente. And we never had such a huge response, right, Sarah?
That's right. Yes.
What happened when Gerald was on?
So it was, our audience exploded. Everybody, we had such positive feedback. I think, as Gerald put it while we were off the air, two experienced guys sharing, their experience of living through, all of our previous history. So it was a success. And so we'd love to have him back on to launch this new year.
Yeah, and I was laughing with Gerald. Being old means we don't know what the word PC means. So it's not only are we old, we're still on the air, which is amazing. So anyway, welcome to the program, Joe.
Oh, thank you. It's great being on with you, and I'm really honored. And it's true, I just turned 75 years old, My father, may his soul rest in peace, we'd be eating dinner, and he'd look at me and he'd say, son, they say that youth is wasted on the young. And he'd take a couple more bites and he'd say, they were talking about you.
Must have the same father.
You grow up and if you keep learning and learning and learning, you see, you start changing a lot. And then you get to a certain point in your life, you say, I had enough, save it. Don't tell me what it was if you haven't been there.
Right.
And we've been there. We know what it was. We know where it is, and we know where it's going because of the experiences
Correct.
that we've had in life.
And the reason you're on is because you're the researcher and founder of the Trends Research Institute, and your publication is well read, it's covered. I love it. But before we begin, how did you get into that line of work, trends?
I'll make a very long story quick. What happened was I was actually at a graduate school. I was a bartender in the city in New York, and my mother passed away at a very young age. And I had two younger sisters, and they were living in Yonkers.
Where in the city?
Yeah, well, I was working in Queens, actually.
Okay.
And it was a hot place, believe me,
sure.
where I was working. Anyway, so I went home to live with my two younger sisters to take care of them. And, I didn't want to get a job. So I was running for mayor of Yonkers. Yonkers is a city of over 200,000 people. So let me go check this out. And because of the way I grew up, the people that get involved in these political campaigns, they don't know anything. They're mostly losers looking for jobs. So I got there, and because of the way I grew up, the things I've done, I hit the top right away. And I was working now on campaigns for district attorneys, senators, and they sent me up to Albany. And I became the assistant to the secretary of the New York State Senate at 26 years old.
Yes. And
it was the worst job I ever had in my life. To watch grown men grovel to suck their way up to the top wasn't for me. And my buddy, Brian Donahue, who, may he rest in peace, his wife became the lieutenant governor under Pataki. Young guys were talking in the back of the chamber. They hire a clown to open the door. Senator Frank Smith, Senator Tom, Blakeman, whatever, They go, the guy can't open the door by himself? And then my friends would leave me, follow the senator to his seat, and pull it back and help him sit down. And I say to the guys when they came back, I say, hey, man, what's the matter? Cat can't sit down by himself. He needs some help. You say, Gerald, you have that kind of an attitude. You're not going to make it here. I said, listen, this isn't my trip. Again, I'm only me because of where I grew up, my heritage. And my mother, may she rest in peace, when I was a little kid, before I knew what the word meant, she would say to me, if a situation broke out, I hate cowards.
Yeah. Yep.
So anyway, I quit that job and I began teaching American politics and campaign technology at St. John's University, how to run political campaigns.
Right.
And then I got a job. I was the chief government affairs specialist for a trade association that represented the chemical industry. I was killing environmental legislation at the height of the environmental movement in Washington, D.C. I was staying at the Willard Hotel at 28 years old and putting my meetings on at the Hay Adams. And again, it's about growing up. And I began to grow up when the Iranian conflict broke out. And this is how I became a trend forecaster.
Okay.
What happened was Jimmy Carter came back from visiting Iran, and he said that the Shah, quote, is the island of stability in the Middle East. And this is when I became a political atheist. I look at things the way they are, not the way I wanted them to be.
Right.
So as everybody's hating what's going on in Iran, and I'm seeing millions of people taking to the streets, I said, no, this thing is going down. As we used to say in the Bronx, bullshit has its own sound. And that's what came out of Carter's mouth. So then I said, what will gold and oil prices do? And I started playing gold and oil futures, not knowing anything about it. And I parlayed a $5,000 bet into almost $750,000.
Jeez.
And again, I went on to lose a lot of it, but I was learning. And that's how I became a trend forecaster. I look at things the way they are, not the way I want them to be. And I study every day. I don't stop. And I read about the current events forming future trends around the world.
Correct. And the reason Gerald and I get along so well is I came from a little sleepy town called Hilo, Hawaii, the farthest city south in America. I mean, it's farthest south than Miami. And I went to school in Great Neck, which is right near where Gerald was growing up. So I run into characters like Gerald, and I go, who are these assholes? You know what I mean? They're so blunt. You guys from the Bronx are so blunt. Yeah. I'm going, holy mackerel. So one of my best friends was Al Novak from the Bronx. And Al just tells it like it is.
Yeah.
And it's the characteristic of that area. And I'm just backing up what you're saying. The reason I love the way you guys talked was in Hawaii, we had to be kind of PC all the time. We don't want to offend anybody and all this. And Donald was from Queens too, Trump, right? I mean,
that's right.
He has that attitude.
Yep.
And I think that's it was one of the best educations I had, Gerald, is hanging out with Al Novak from the Bronx, And boy, you just didn't mince words with them. They just tell you as they see it.
And that's how Trump won.
Yeah.
They weren't used to him.
Yeah.
I'll never forget the day when it was over, when they had the debate, and he goes over to little Jebby Bush, puts his arm on his shoulder, and says, you're really not much of anything. Where a guy in the Bronx just put his hand on his shoulder, you get your hair, get away. What are you doing? Don't you touch me. And they don't know how to react to that. And again, I'm a blessed guy. I was born in 1946, the youngest of 5 kids. So this is right at the beginning of the boom of America. And I have brothers and sisters born in the 30s, so I'm learning from them, and grandparents in the 1800s. At a time, again, I should have been dead 100. I ran away from kindergarten. PS 76. I ran away at 4.5 years old, crossed the Boston Post Road in the Bronx, which was the major artery before the highways. Today, they would have had me shot up with drugs.
Yeah.
But they knew that, they took me out of kindergarten because they couldn't, I was the youngest of 5. I'm out of my mind, Yeah. One of the reasons, by the way, I don't have any children. My mother, one time, chasing me around the house and finally catches me. And the Italian women, they spoil their boys, used to bite their hand so they wouldn't kill you. And in Italian, she said, "Facimile morta, you son of a bitch, you're better off dead. You should have 3 worse than you." And I couldn't imagine one like me, But again, you were born to be free.
Right.
And they inspired you to do that.
Right. And that's why, you and I are the same age, 75.
Yeah.
But it was that time, that era, that part of the world. It was one of the best educations I could have asked for, because had I stayed in Hilo, Hawaii, I'd be this little punky surfer kid. Yep. But I went to school in New York, and by the time I left New York, I was a different man. I couldn't hang out with my friends anymore. because they can't, that saying from Jack Nicholson and A Few Good Men, you want the truth. You can't handle the truth. And that's what I picked up going to school on the island, Long Island, hanging out with guys like you and going, holy mackerel, these guys are rude. But it was the truth. And so I have tremendous respect for you, and you've been following you for years. So this show is about what you see coming in the future. And please don't be politically correct. So what do you see happening, Gerald?
Well, they're going to be raising interest rates on the economic front. And of course, they're saying that at the end of middle of December, they were saying that, well, they're not going to raise them until mid-March or mid-year, rather. I see it happening earlier. And when I was on your show the last time, it was back in September, I said, what a bunch of baloney this is. They're shooting at this crap that, inflation's only temporary. And then it went to transitory. So they were either too stupid to know where it was going, or they knew where it was going, and they're which I believe they did, and they're artificially keeping the cheap money flowing in, because when interest rates go up and the cheap money flow stops, the economy is going to go down and the equity markets are going to crash.
Yes.
Look at the insider trading. They're selling out now big time. It's like $69 billion. Meantime, stock buybacks are hit at all-time high because they're getting the money for nothing, buying back the stock so it looks like there's less of them available, and keep artificially pushing the prices up. Look at merger and acquisition activity, all-time high, cheap money. When you look at the real interest rate, what was the inflation rate that just came out? What was it, 6.8%? Oh, and what is the Fed rate? Oh, near zero. So what am I, stupid? You got negative interest rates. So this is a whole scam because these liars, these little freaks, the central banksters were BSing us for how many years? That when inflation hits around 2%, we will be raising interest rates. 2%. Oh, what happened today? What's the number that came out? Wholesale price measures rose 9.6% in November, the fastest pace on record. This is a crime syndicate. It's Christmas time coming up, right?
Right.
There was a story about a person by the name of Jesus Christ. One day, he drives the banksters out of the temple, the money changers, the Goldman Sachs gang, the J.P. Morgan Chase bandits. Oh, J.P. Morgan Chase, you mean the one that rigged the precious metals market and only got fined $900 million? Oh, yeah, those banksters. Nothing has changed. And by the way, 3 days later, he's up on the cross. So you don't screw with the banksters.
It's amazing we're still alive here.
Yeah, I know.
It really is.
It is. No, this is criminal what's going on in America. It's a crime right in front of our eyes.
Right.
Oh, you're too big to fail. Hey, we screwed all these people with subprime mortgages, derivatives deals, all this crap, and now we're losing money. Give it back to us. Okay. So what did the Federal Reserve do from 2007 to 2010? Oh, they only pumped in $29 trillion into the system for the banksters. It's the banksters, the drug dealers that people call Big Pharma, the military-industrial complex that Dwight D. Eisenhower warned us about, and high tech. They're running the country. They're running the world.
So the big pharma, there's COVID and all this. I mean, I had COVID. I know it's real and all that, but I just go. I'm not against the vaccine. I'm against the mandate.
Absolutely, I feel the same.
Why,
do what you want to do.
Why force us? I've one quote. I mean, I have a very suspicious. The word conspiracy means you wear a tinfoil hat or something. But why would they leave the border open?
Again, what what's important for everyone to know from a guy that's been there, and I have pictures of me. I picked up Ronald Reagan at the Chicago Hilton, 1976. I was 30 years old, and he was the keynote speaker at our event, and I put on a brunch with him and our board of directors. Picked up him and Mike Deaver and got in a taxi cab. This 2 days before he's announcing he's running against Jerry Ford. I've been with presidents, prime ministers, and princes. The people in politics are the dumbest pieces of arrogant crap you could find. Look at a guy who's playing president. The guy's been sucking off the public tit his whole life. Oh, this guy up in New Hampshire, after 50 years, he just retired. 50 years? These are the dumbest, arrogant, pathological, lying sociopaths and psychopaths created among the human race. They can't get a job in the real world. And they're out of their minds. We got morons and imbeciles in charge. Here, I'll ask you one question. Show me one great thing the government has done. Show me one. Tell me one.
My question to you is, have you ever seen it this bad?
No.
No, me either.
No.
That's the problem. I've never seen it this bad. And the reason we have you on is because we're going to go into the trends. Because I have tremendous respect for Gerald. Like I said, I went to school with guys like you. And for me, that was an education in itself about not being politically correct. Do you know what I mean? Al Novak was a good basketball player. He wouldn't play with me because you can't hit from you can't hit from the three-pointer. I mean, they didn't try to save your feelings. He says, you can't hit. Stay with surfing. Don't play basketball with me. I mean, I love you guys. I mean, you guys just tell it like it is. So we come back. We've been going into what Gerald really wants to say about our leaders. We'll be right back. Hello. Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show, the good news and bad news about money. You can listen to the Rich Dad Radio program anywhere on iTunes, Android, and YouTube, as long as they don't deplatform us. And all of our programs are archived at Rich Dad Radio because we don't sell anything. We don't make recommendations. We tell you what we invest in and other people invest in, but we don't make recommendations. And the reason we archive it at Rich Dad Radio is so you can listen to this program again. But more importantly, we have friends, family members, or business associates who need to hear this message. Just go to Rich Dad Radio and we'll play it again. So it's a dear person I've respected for years. Like I said, he and I are the same age, went to school in the same part of the world. And it's a tough world they grew up in, same as Donald. And over there, you don't mince your words. So that's what Gerald Celente is the director of the Trends Research Institute and the Trends Journal magazine. It's worth the price because Gerald will not hold back. So, Gerald, we want to get into the trends and, say what you want to say, because I think this is the most important. This 2022 is a pivot year. It is a pivot year. And if people are hoping that it'll be more like yesterday, I think we're in serious trouble. No, it's only going to go down worse. You look at all these mandates that are happening around the world because of the Omicron virus that has killed one person allegedly out of only 8 billion. And it's been going on since November 26th. So again, the fear that they're spreading, business travel, international travel between New York and overseas was down only 77% from the end of November to the middle of December, down 77%. And now all the lockdowns, if you're not vaccinated, you have no freedom in Austria and Italy, now in Germany coming up, Czech Republic, one place after another. How could the markets keep going up? So for 2022, again, I do not give financial advice, and I have to make that very clear, or else they come after me. Right. Is GSB, gold, silver, and Bitcoin. And they're going to go down when interest rates go up, but the economy is going to go down too. So they're going to go down temporarily, and then they're going to escalate very rapidly as people realize how bad it is. And the only thing that's keeping people from seeing, again, we talked about inflation rate, how many people are the median household income had its biggest decline ever in 2020. What's the facade that's making it look like everything is okay are the equity markets.
When the equity markets crash, reality will hit Main Street.
Amen.
And that's why it's GSB for me. And then I also see people say, well, there'll be a real estate crash. And I said, no, I don't see one, because this real estate boom was different than the others. The people had money to buy what they purchased, unlike the last time with the subprime mortgages and all the inflation of what was going on. So, but I do see a decline in commercial real estate.
Right.
As we go into the end of the year, office occupancy rates in the United States are at 40%. That means 60% aren't coming back. And now we go into one of our new trends coming up, the Metaverse. Love it, hate it. It's a virtual reality. Look, here we are. We're Zoomed together. Who would have thought this, 10, 15 years ago? So you're going to see more and more people working at home. Commercial real estate was overbuilt before. And now in most cities, it's going to go down big as we see it. The Metaverse, by the way, are going to have a lot of opportunities. One of the big ones being online education, because the education system we have now stinks. It was invented by the Prussians at the beginning of the industrial age. Now we're going to the Metaverse age. And also with healthcare and a lot of other entrepreneur opportunities to stay ahead of this. On the downside, of course, it's stopping the human relationship of people knowing each other, feeling each other, and touching each other, which is a whole different story. So
Correct.
That part goes down. But again, going back to the occupancy rate, hotels, restaurants. Oh, why am I going to send? You don't have to do business travel. I could save money here. I don't need 8 floors in this skyscraper. All I need are 3. So they're going to be saving money on that. Another big one to look at is simplicity. Everything has become too complicated, talking about high tech. Again, guys like us, I remember driving a stick shift,
Yeah.
And why do I got all this crap on this, on the dashboard that when it breaks, it costs several $1,000s to fix, and you don't need it? You're going to start seeing things going back to simplicity for smart companies that are going to take advantage of it. A lot of things became too high tech. Another big trend to look at is the one going on in China. As we talked about the supply chain disruptions and how it drove up inflation, what's going on in China? Dual circulation policy. Yeah, we're going to keep exporting things, and we're going to make sure the yuan stays low so our products seem cheap. But we're also at $1.4 billion. We want the people to buy made in China, dress made in China, sing made in China, be made in China. Self-sufficient economy, dual circulation. And that's what America should be if it wants to get back up, because we have all the human and natural resources we need. We wouldn't have a supply chain disruption. Here I am in Kingston, New York, where the Gantt shirt factory used to be and shoe factories and everything. Now, everything comes from overseas. So the smart nations are going to be as self-sufficient as they can be.
Amen. I have one more question about New York. De Blasio is now open. Anybody can vote. What happened there? Explain that. You don't have to be a citizen to vote?
You don't have to be a citizen to vote in New York City. This is how criminal and how sick-minded these people are. And you know why they're doing it? No. Because then they feel like they get the immigrant votes when they come in and when it come election time. That's the only reason. Again, here, politicians, I forgot to name the other stupid, moronic, self-serving jerks that are in government. Bureaucrats. These are people that can't get a job in the real world, that suck into the political system to become part of it. Those are the morons running the show. So that's what's going on in New York. It's only to get the votes.
It's tragic. I mean, in Arizona, they recount the votes, but we don't know what they recounted. It never comes out. It gets squashed. But this is my question. What do you think is going to happen now? Now we're going, like what's going to happen after tomorrow? And with all these people, they're bringing all these people in to vote against people with money. That's Marxism. It's the abolition of private property.
Yeah.
And this is Marxism. So they bring all these people in to rig the ballot so they can vote out the rich. Does that make sense to you?
Well, I don't think they're going to vote out the rich at all, because the rich, matter of fact, there's the whole thing about de Blasio, how he got all his money from the rich.
Right, but it's going to crush the middle class is what I'm really saying.
Crushing the middle class is definitely it.
So the rich are okay, but they're crushing the middle class, which used to be called kind of the bourgeoisie, but they're now going down to proletariat, according to Marx. Yeah,
the billionaires don't want the middle class, because all they want are workers of Slavelandia. They brag that they're paying $15 an hour. Who can live on $15 an hour? Oh, what was the inflation rate? Only 6.8%? How much did wages go up? Oh, I think about 4.6%. Oh, yeah, the real inflation numbers, according to John Williams Shadow Stats, who I deeply respect, because they rigged the inflation numbers for two reasons. Number one, so they wouldn't have to raise interest rates so the bigs could get all that cheap money. And number two, so you wouldn't have to pay more in Social Security because it was attached to interest rates. The real interest rate is about 15%. So now the bigs, they want cheap labor. They don't want a middle class. Again, when we were young guys, they may censor you for this. There were things called drugstores, stationery stores, grocery stores, hardware stores, and now they're all chains. There are no private stationery stores. No, we got Staples. We got Office Depot. We got Lowe's. We got Home Depot. We don't need the local hardware stores. No, we don't need grocery stores. We got Hannaford's. We got Kroger. And we want cheap help. And this is the difference, too. When they had all those local stores, the people that worked in them saw a future. They'd say, maybe I'll do this when I get older. Or else they moved up the chain because the people they were working with appreciated it. Gone. Now you go to Starbucks, boop, you're stuck in Starbucks, or when you got there, where you are, and you could be there for years. And that's the other one I get a kick out of. They call them barristers for pouring coffee. When I was a kid, I was a soda jerk in a candy store. Oh, but you're not a coffee jerk. You're a barrister.
Barista. Hey, quick.
Barista, excuse me. That's the Bronx language.
I love the Bronx. I've had so many interesting memories from the Bronx. I mean, burned in my mind. Burned in my mind. I went once to I didn't know what a tenement project was. And everything the government touches turns to shit, as you know. So if you go to a tenement project in the Bronx, I was part of the Boy Scouts, and we took some kids camping. So we drove into the Bronx in a school station wagon, and I went down in the basement of this slum dwelling. And you know that song by Simon and Garfunkel? It says, and the words of the prophets are written on the subway walls and tenement halls. Gerald, that's what I remembered.
Yeah.
We could see the future by what was written in the basement of government projects for the poor.
Yep.
It was the most shocking thing coming from Hilo, Hawaii, where everybody wore hula skirts. I go in and pick up these kids, single moms, no fathers. Yep. I grew up. And so that's why everybody wants you to know I have tremendous respect for this man, Gerald Celente. You should listen to him because he'll tell you straight. Would you mind telling us what the Trends Journal is about to give you a chance for people to plug, so they can buy it and stay in touch?
Yes, it's a weekly magazine, and we give every ounce of energy that we have. It averages about 130 pages a week.
Whew.
No ads. Here, this is a business section of the New York Times. Look at the big stupid picture they have over here. This is because journalism is dead. One, picture after another, filling up the pages. Look at this. How stupid can you be? $3 a day for crap. So what we do, we only have one little photo, and we write about all the current events, geopolitics, economics, socioeconomics, environmental, high-tech science, technocracy, survivalism by Bradley Steiner, how to fight for your life. And what we do is we tell the people what's going on, what it means, and what's next. Here are the trend forecasts. This is what you might want to consider doing. These are the opportunities. These are the dangers. This is what you need to do to prepare, prevail, and prosper. And I have to say, there's no magazine like it in the world. If anybody could show me anything that comes close to it, please let me know. You think of Time Magazine. Oh, yeah. Last week's news next week. Oh, it's great. It's going to help me a lot. So what we're doing is we're giving the people everything that we can to give them the trends that are shaping the future, shaping their lives, and showing them what they can do to stay ahead of the curve rather than go down with it. Because I've been at this is my 42nd year.
Jeez.
I have never been so concerned about the future as I am now. Because here is the bottom line. When all else fails, they take you to war.
Right. Amen.
You got to be proper now. You got to say, hey, women, too.
Hey, women. Okay. So how much is the most important journal coming out? We love your journal.
This is this New York Times is $3 a day, $2 a week.
Jeez.
$3 a day, $2 a week, $129 for the whole year. And again, when I say I'm concerned about when all else fails, they take you to war, go back to the .com bust. The NASDAQ was down 66% before 9/11. 66% before 9/11. 9/11 happens. A month later, Afghan war, 88% of the people went for it. Phony boom. But this time, they asked Einstein, what kind of weapons will be used to fight the Third World War? He said, I don't know. He said, but they'll be using sticks and stones to fight the fourth. And that's my greatest concern. And this is one to look at. What's going on in Turkey. The inflation rate in Turkey, the actual inflation rate is over 40%. The Turkish lira has declined over 45% this year alone against the dollar. You look what happens with Erdogan, the guy in control that doesn't want to let go of it. Will there be a war against the Kurds? Will he be going into Syria? What's going to happen in the Middle East? These are the kind of things we're telling the people to look at because you're not finding that information anywhere. Oh, then there's a place called Ethiopia. Oh, it's only the second largest country in Africa with a civil war going on. Oh, yeah, right at the Horn of Africa near Europe over there, migrant crisis. You're talking about what's going on in the United States. Oh, inflation skyrocketing. You're going to see a migrant wave we've never seen before. You're going to see political unrest we haven't seen before. So these are the times to really know what's going on and get serious about it.
Amen. I am a woman. Anyway, your publication is www.trendsresearch.com. Please, 2022, there could be nothing more important that you subscribe to. I promise you. You've really got to stay up ahead because you're not hearing anything from mainstream media. So, Joel, I really appreciate what you're doing, and thank you for what you're doing.
Well,
you're a great human being.
Thank you. I'm truly honored to be on with you, and I thank you for all that you do and how much you've given to the people and over the years to help them. So thank you so much. I've been a huge fan of yours for many years.
Thank you. Well, we come from the same part of the hood. Anyway, Gerald, thanks very much, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show, the good news and bad news about money. You can listen to the Rich Dad Radio program anytime, anywhere on iTunes and Android. And all of our programs are archived at richdadradio.com because we don't have anything to sell. We make no recommendations. We tell what we do, but not that you should do it also. We are an education company. So is Joe. So we archive everything at Rich Dad Radio. for yourself, but especially for friends, family, and business associates, listen to this and discuss this. You'll learn much more because 2022 is going to be one of those big change years, and the world's going to change even faster. So that's why I go to www.transresearch.com, and I want to thank Gerald Celente. I mean, he's priceless. You know, what he charges for his publication is priceless, especially for 2022. So, Sarah, what did you think?
Well, I appreciated Gerald, when we had him on in September, but this time it seemed a little bit, we have a grave outlook.
Urgent.
Yeah. And now's the time, if you are concerned, which everybody should be, now financial education is more important than ever. And so people like Gerald and you and, all of George Gammon, all of the guys that, we've surrounded ourselves with this year, they're all saying the same thing.
Records are saying the same thing. We're going down.
Yeah.
We're going down.
Yeah. And so I like, you always say gold, silver, Bitcoin. Gerald says gold, silver, Bitcoin. So the people out there, if you're gold, silver, Bitcoin is shining bright for you right now. Like everybody's saying it because the dollar is going to shit.
Well, it's more than the dollar. It's that the taxes and inflation are ripping people off. Mm-hmm. When I see the working guys around my house, I feel for them because the Fed, the Treasury, they're just ripping those guys off. Inflation is a tax, so are taxes. And so Biden promised, and I'm not Republican or Democrat, but he promises he's not going to raise taxes. Don't worry, he's going to print $10 trillion, won't cost us anything. Do you know how stupid you have to be to believe that? But people do.
Yeah. And we had a session last Thursday, and Tom Wheelwright was on, and we were talking about this tax. Somebody has to pay this tax bill, and it's going to crush the middle class.
Yes.
It's not going, everybody, tax the rich, or, it's not going to touch the rich.
No.
The people who are going to pay for it are the people who are working every day for their paycheck. I mean, so this is, it's an alarming warning, and I just hope that our listeners take heed.
And meanwhile, the rich get richer because my friend Greg Jaggers was here from Wyoming. And he's raising Wagyu cattle. It's $30 a pound. Mm-hmm. And the rich can afford it.
Yeah.
And the poor can't even go, they can't afford hamburger anymore.
Right.
And that's what's happening to America and the world, really. What he's talking about Turkey, Afghanistan.
Yeah.
I just can't believe it, that people will actually believe the news. I mean, how can Biden stand up there and say, I'm going to print $10 trillion, but it won't cost us a thing? I'm going, what planet does that boy live on? Again, I'm not Republican or Democrat, but how in the world can people believe that BS?
I have one more point that I learned this week, and that was actually from Ken McElroy. Ken McElroy, yep. Inflation came out at 6.8%. You can get an interest rate of 3.1.
Yeah. They're
giving free money away.
Yeah.
So if you are in a position to borrow and to start investing that's free money.
Yeah.
So,
but also it's tax-free money.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Let's say you borrow $1 million, you pay no tax on it. But if you were to save $1 million, it would cost you $1.4 million. 40% tax.
Right.
And that's why there's no financial education in our schools, because most of our school teachers are Marxists. They're not bad people. They just don't know anything about capitalism. Mm-hmm. That's the problem. And they're teaching it to our kids.
Well, and if we were educated in that realm, the government wouldn't get away with doing this.
That's right.
That's right. But because we don't teach it, there's very few people talking about it. Their plan's working out. Their plan is unfolding.
Correct.
So anyway, great show. Always a pleasure.
And we had George Gammon, he and Jeff Snyder were talking about what's happening. What Gerald's saying is exactly, the Fed's trying to push up the front end of the interest rates, but the euro-dollar system is collapsing because the economy in Europe is collapsing right now. Mm-hmm. And that's going to hit America really hard. So what George Gammon and Jeff Snyder are saying, something big is going to happen in 2022. So please subscribe to www.transresearch.com, the best investment you can make because it's an investment in your mind. So thank you all for watching the Rich Dad Radio Show.
Thank you.